Hi.
Good evening. Hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hi.
Okay. Evening. Let's get this up here. Okay. We are in Orot HaTechiyah Beit.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Hateva. Oh, I forgot to share screen. 1 second. Okay. Now we're in business. Hateva. Motzei et Ridia so. Ridia so means it's control. It's but very interesting word for control. A Rodan is a like a dictator. So nature find it manifests its dictatorship, I guess. B'kibbutz hanoshi in the general human society, Yosef Hashem more than its individuals. Hapatim inam Yosef chavshim. I'm not sure exactly how yet, obviously, but individuals are more free. V'atipusha chovesh hamichal adam iskale behem yoser. And the unique quality of freedom, which is unique for human beings, is most revealed in individuals. Our chevra, society, henoshis, whether it's human in general, of lumis, or the national society, omenes bios ataras hashbas hateva, is more under the influence of nature. V'alpa'a instinctivit, and the manifestation of instinct is mitgaleh bioser is more revealed in it. So it's an interesting perspective because you would think it's kind of counterintuitive, because you think that individuals are more subject to nature because nature controls individuals, but society is controlled by other trends, not necessarily by nature. But that's not necessarily true because as there are societies are intrinsic part of nature, as we know from the animal kingdom, especially with insects, and that insects live in large societies, and ants, cockroaches, termites, and so on and so forth. So there is a herd mentality, which is part and parcel of the control of nature over society. Individuals can be flamboyant, different, strange, but society is very cohesive and monolithic. I think that's what he means. Um, the pathways of preservation, which are directed at preserving species and persons, which are more manifest in natural creatures more than civilized man, where civilization uproots some of the natural norms. They are revealed in the totality of mankind, but finding which are more similar to the nature of the other animals. And that's why, again, as I said, mob mentality is very similar to herd mentality or herd mentality. Hakar primis, the inner recognition, which includes in it the inclination to take care from any damage, to recognize the enemy, that any necessity for wisdom or even uh, um, um, experience. He says, it becomes revealed in the life of nations and have later, there's certain, many, I think, mostly, uh, uh, the example which comes to mind is turtles. But like turtles, when they're hatched, they never see their mothers. Mothers go up on shore, lay the eggs, and go back into the sea.
Hmm.
The turtles can, by complete instinct, know how to lead their lives. So you see that it's intrinsic. It's built into the nature, And this is intrinsic, he says, to the interconnectedness, and he has both good and bad ways, probably primarily in bad ways, between the nations. Am Lam, nation to nation, dust to dust, religion to religion, Geza to Geza, race to race. Haililus Tergisha Yisrael. So, Rav Kook says, I think it's an amazing statement here. Paganism, sense in Am Yisroel, B'Yadus, in Judaism, as Oyav Ta, Hayoseglo, greatest enemy. As a koach, the strength, Asher Fi Midas Higaluso, according to by which in its his measure, the way he measured out, because Baruch Hu created the world, and in other words, Am Yisrael stands in opposition in and not so much in its national and its individual destinies. Of course, we're also very different in individual purposes and destinies than the pagans of the world, but more so in that we don't have the same natural social inclinations and drives and movement that a pagan society would have, based simply on its being defaulting down to the crudest of the natural norms. Okay, but say sina, and hatred emerged instinctively, an instinctual hatred, azah, powerful instinctive hatred, came out to Jews Mikol going from all the non-Jews, all the nations of the world. Haminus and heresy. Even though it tried to separate itself from the formal idolatry, so formal paganism, nevertheless knows it's very similar to paganism. It's a similar basis. It would not be able to have penetrated into idolatrous polytheistic nations, where the paganism penetrated the very essence of their souls, their blood and their flesh, unless it had taken a pagan form. The difasa for that which in which to pursue, and spread its style. Which is an interesting point. Of course, atheism itself becomes a religion. That's
yes, they're very religious, very frum.
Yodas Yofer. Atheism knows very well. Sheim be'efes yad yismas meis b'yichlei signon elihi. If by the hand loses its grip, and it will dissolve and be eliminated. The pagan style, a rapudla, which upholsters it. It won't find any stature in life to its unique coin. Well, that's a powerful statement. And it's going to have to be compelled to be absorbed spiritually in Judaism. Mikora, its source. Wow. Okay, so atheism also stands up and to protect itself. And of course, the greatest example of that is the Nazis, who are at least nominally, and the Soviets, which were at least nominally atheists. The Soviets more than the Nazis, but both of them. And of course, their greatest enemy became the Jews, which is a fascinating idea. Okay. It's Vatimale Sinas Moves. It's a hatred to death. The Adus of Judaism, and the Jews who hold on to it. Or support it. This occurs in all the avenues in all situations. The war for existence, the existential war, makes its way in the material world as in the spiritual world. In the material world and also in the spiritual world. But in the world of opinions and ideas. With all its power and with all its inner cognition, it teaches many groups, Hamon, Biltim, Lumad, the uneducated masses, to stand up for their souls in their spiritual aspect, which is pagan or even an atheist one. Shem Shlemes is a Torah Azos. It's just like it teaches this Torah as Pratei Balei Chaim. The individual animals, Vesakusim and Najim, and the human society, B'chinasam Chomis. Just like it has in their material existence, they nikaluv and amod al nafsham, so too in their spiritual existence. Only after these inclinations go out to life and accomplish wonderful deeds. Boy, philosophim, the philosophim come, who analyze the soul and the nature of the nations. And they, after the fact, reveal the wisdom, instinctivis, of the instinctual cognition, which already which they were preceded by the masses. In other words, they justify, the philosophers of these trends, justify the instinctive cognition which preceded them. Which the masses which follow their emotions according to their understanding them, and then they create the philosophers to justify their lifestyle. The sciences such as sociology and psychology and even biology to a large extent will enhance in a negative way here, but bisu means to make fragrant. As the natural inclinations, as much as possible, give them a form which is civilized and even ethical. Because they're more greater than the philosophy. It's a famous quote from Shakespeare: "There are more things in heaven and earth than there are in your philosophy." In other words, the trends are much more powerful than the actual ideas which come subsequent to and are built on the trends. And therefore, ideas will not be able to reverse trends. It's most manner, they're more powerful. And also, this fascinating idea, there's Mishpat and Tzedek on their right hand, evidently because I assume it doesn't mean divine Mishpat and Tzedek, but the Mishpat and Tzedek of the system which sustains itself. These concepts sustain life, the life of kibbutzim, the life of society. How long is this? Oh, this is long. I think we have to do this in two parts. V'cholzman sheyesh chus kiyum l'kibbutz laumi v'chevrati be'ezet tzura shetiyeh, as long as there's a right to existence. As long as there is the nation naturally does not go extinct or get absorbed, it has the right existence as a natural collective and a social collective. Basic tzura shetiyah, another whatever format it is. Yesh lo mishpal again kimo. It has the justice. That's an amazing statement. I don't think justice here, I think it means relative, not absolute justice, but it takes a search for something justice. To protect its existence. Because of our shaved to fend off anything which might absorb it. With strategies will make war. We also have a natural cognition of ourselves. Before we explain any of our philosophy and any of our logic. What is our natural cognition? The illumination of divinity, in the most pure and illuminated way, internally, in the world and life in general. This says and our fulfillment of our natural type. Based on our independent spirit, but it starts in our historic homeland. That's all its intent. Even before, in other words, this is a dangerous statement by Kook. I'm not so sure that this cannot be taken the wrong way. But he's saying that the natural, instinctual nature of Am Yisroel also precedes our philosophy and our logic. It happens to be it's intrinsically holy. So therefore, it's different than the nations of the world. But it also has the similarity that you shoot first and ask questions later. Okay. Right. So I think we'll stop here for today. So
Okay.
this goes on and on. It's fascinating stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Okay. So let's put a note here. And I lost my place here. Let's do one more line. The way in which we're set up in practice, both the Moses and Melechus that see no rose come to fulfill the work of pipelines. Yadadam, in other words, that's our job in this world, to be pipelines. Shayadam Malay Dabar Yachas. That through them, this Kabbalistic concept, there comes out the relationship of Shalazoah Shabbatal Chaim, of the flow of the dew of life, Media Lokisa Torah, from the pure divine idea, El Idea Lumis Shalah, to our national idea, Beruach in spirit, Beseichel in intellect, Maaseh and deed, Lord B'chai Kol Yochid B'Yochid, Ki Im Gam Uvichud B'chai Lum Kula. And this is something which is very basic, the Kabbalah, but in Rav Kook, I'm sure even more so, which is that all individuals, which evidently will be his next point, also their, not just their philosophy, their Hasidus stems from the Ruach HaKodesh of the nation in its totality. Okay, which is part and parcel of that which precedes all those, thought patterns, which are essential, but they're like Naseh and Ishma, right? First comes, the form, and then the format, I should say, which is intrinsic and intuitive, based on our holiness, which is different. And then afterwards, we talk about the nishma, the understanding and philosophy thereof.
Okay. Very good.
Okay. All right. Have a great week.
Yes, you too. Take care.
Goodbye.